everyone, it's baby. Hi, everyone, it's baby Savvy and me, Shelly Sanchez Terrell, and we have a very wonderful guest today, which is Savvy's Teal John Samuelson. You also know him on Twitter at John Samuelson. It's so great to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to see you too.
And thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to talk to you a little about the stories you shared for the book, Hacking Digital Learning Strategies. Now, when I first approached you, you're one of these incredible, ed tech integration specialists and teachers. You have so much knowledge and have done so much with kids producing and creating. I could have just asked you for a million examples, but one of the great ones you shared was the Signal to Noise Festival your district does. Do you want to tell us a little about what that festival is?
Sure. It's good. It's good to have the chance to talk about it a little bit. So I've done a few ISTE poster sessions with Signal to Noise, and if you go to signaltonoisefestival.com, it's just a K through 12 film festival, and we break it into elementary, middle, and high school, and there's different categories, like there's newscasts and documentaries and comedy and drama and all this different stuff. And so what we do is we get all these, we have a bunch of people from around judge them. They're kind of shared into a little platform that we have, and judges score them, and we take the 5 finalists and we tell them they're finalists, and we invite their whole families, and we have a big celebration at one of our high schools. And yeah, it's great. We usually have there's a little festival in front where we do like little STEAM activities, and I think we're going to switch that around this year, and I think we're going to actually have more focus. We're going to focus more on the arts and the filmmaking, the A in STEAM. And yes, it's great. And then there's red carpets, there's limo rides, there's food, and and there's prizes, and the kids get to come up on stage, and yeah, we try and make it as much like the kid Oscars as possible.
Now, I know that a lot of this is because you get students from K to 12 in your district. Throughout the year, you work with them personally to produce different types of videos. And I was looking at the site and I was just so amazed. I know they do Newscasts is just one of them, and that's the example I used for reporting the news, but you also have them do documentaries, they do interviews, I saw animations. How did your district first start? I mean, how do you all start with getting students prepared for creating a video?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, so I mean, I came into this district. This is my 4th year. I give credit to the founder of the film festival was Scott Hackey, a gentleman, and he actually does camera work for the Portland Trailblazers. And he retired, and I took his job. So Scott Hackey and Todd Freemuth, they just started like at a school. And they started to do it they just started working their way up from a school to basically, it's just one of their passions, right? And so I was actually in a class today and yesterday, and we are really trying to get people to focus more on, we're trying to get the elementary kids to not just take one roaming cut, and we have a great filmmaker that does our district videos, this guy, Colin Elliott. And so he was actually out there teaching one of the classes today, and then I actually came in and just watched him do iMovie. And the funny thing is, the teacher was laying all this stuff up, and it's one of our good teachers, and the kids know iMovie. Like the things that I had to help him with were so small, and he kept trying to, I think as teachers, our big problem is we always think they don't know all this stuff. We're gonna have to teach it step by step. No, the kids jump in there, and one of them usually in a group knows it. And so it's been great. So we're really trying to focus more on like getting different camera angles in elementary, so that when they come up to high school, and we have some great high school teachers, they just take it from there. I would love to take credit for the high school ones, but that's just all them, and that's all the teachers that they have at their different high schools. We have some really great ones. They're really, you can see their enthusiasm.
Now, I also wanted to talk about, because you actually go through the entire process, which I really enjoy about listening to you, you know, describe the process of the video production. One of the things you do is make sure they're part of like a crew, and you get them together as a crew. Another part is you make sure that they think about the editing process. And I know you said that at one point, or at several points throughout the process of documentary or newscast, you gather them together and ask them questions, like reflective questions, to improve the quality. So can you talk a little about that, like feedback process, and how you get them to reflect on making a better production next time?
Sure. So the one thing that we're trying, it's hard because a lot of so I'm basically at heart, I'm an elementary person, right? So I'm really trying to work with the elementary people. So their ideas, they just have such like large ideas. And so what we kind of try and get them to focus a little bit on is, it's not always these large ideas. Your ideas we can gather some ideas from your large idea, but we need to take it and break it down, and we try and make them just make sure that they focus on, they're telling a story. There's a problem, there's a solution. The one that we did yesterday was they did, to kind of kick it off for them, is they did a rock, paper, scissors battle. So they just did a little Rochambeau or whatever it's called. And so Colin actually had them go through it, and we kind of went through it with them. And then we showed them that we can come in and close up on their face, we can close up on their hands, we can close up, and then after we splice it all together, you can make a really compelling story out of something that's just ordinary and simple. So we really tried, like there was one, well, of course it's Halloween around it, so everybody's trying to make like a horror movie is there what they're trying to do right now. And so they have these big ideas, and so we say, okay, but think about what you have right here. We have limited resources, pare it down, and then see if it can work. So we kind of get them to brainstorm their ideas, they write it down on paper, work together, and then we just kind of try and keep focusing it in, and then we watch the movies, and then we give them feedback. And that's a lot what my daughter's teacher, she's at one of our ACMA, and Kevin Bennett, I want to give a shout out to him. She just got to that school this year. She loves him. And I've sat in his classes in high school, and it's incredible how he works with these students, and just they critique each other. And so it's really that whole self-evaluation. And we really do. We just try and get them to go, okay, what could we have done better? Or what don't you understand, after they kind of have their cut? And then we go back and re-edit it. So it does take some time. You know, you have to be dedicated as a 5th grade teacher to give, that kind of time up to do those things, right? And that's what we always worry about as teachers, is time. But I feel like when you learn those soft skills of collaboration and creativity, and that's what people are looking for. And I feel like that's sometimes what gets lost when we're like, oh, we've only got so much time in a day. But if you do a cool project like this, there's so much learning that comes from it, and so, right, it's a fun process, I'll tell you that. And we're really trying to focus this year on the films when we go through. I want more schools involved. We have 51 schools. I'd like to get more schools involved.
You talk about, and these are great video productions you do, but and you really do teach, not only how to be creators and problem solvers and receive feedback and so many great skills, but another part of the process is you tie the content pretty well, because I looked at quite a few of the winners and the ones that were runner-ups, and they did anything from mythology, which is something you cover, and this is elementary students, producing mythology news. I saw a really great one on immigration, where they even interviewed students and they shared their immigration stories. So there is a lot of diversity. I know I saw one where even elementary students were interviewing a sheriff and talking about the gang problem. So I think you all do a really great job of also tying in content, curriculum as well. How do they come up with these issues? Like how does a class decide, the subject of their videos?
Well, we did the mythology one, and I'll give a shout out to Robin, because Robin Tanksley is the teacher that I worked with when we were talking about in your book, right? So that was the one I always wanted to give her a shout out. She's a great teacher, and she's always willing to do different things. But that's one of their big things. And when she was she's now a third grade teacher, but she's a fourth grade teacher, and mythology was their big thing. So they love the mythology. It's kind of like one of their themes throughout the year. So when they did the mythology news, that was a cool one. The one that you're talking about, that was one of my favorite ones, where it was a fifth grade student. And I mean, I wish I could take credit, seriously, Shelley, for these. The kids are the ones that think of these things, right? So it all comes, the great ideas all come from students if you give them the freedom to kind of decide what they want to do. That was a fifth grade student. He was leaving this school. And so what he decided to do, he's leaving his grade school, which can be traumatic, right, if he's going on to middle school and high school. And so he just decided to talk to people that went to the high school. It's it's all around where I live, actually. And it's like Aloha High School is where we have our film festival. And he interviewed like some of the valedictorians from there. And so he just asked them, and like he got his brother and sister, like, who knew people that were at this different schools. And he just went around to different schools and asked who was interested, and got these great interviews for like what it was like growing up Hispanic, you know, like what are the problems. And that was a straight one. Our only regulation is that we give them is that it's 5 minutes. It can't be over 5 minutes in length. But yeah, the great idea. I'm glad they seem like they're great social problems. It's all the kids. It's nothing. We've thought about trying to steer them away, you know, to like be like, oh, maybe we should do it like a focus. And then sometimes I'm like, you know, sometimes the adults, we get too much, you know, you lay your hands off and you can watch these kids do some incredible things.
Well, I have to congratulate you for that, because there were just so many great examples that I could share. I would really recommend that people just go and look at the website and look at all of them. I mean, you have them for all the previous years as well, are on the site. Students who have, you know, submitted their productions. I know you have a very, in each year there's a really great playlist, so they can just go through them. And they're even great examples to show other students. The last thing I wanted to talk about was, and I know this is pretty popular and a lot of teachers get very excited about, using a green screen. So do you have any tips on, you know, what are good apps or ways to do the green screen for teachers just starting off and want to, you know, get their students to be able to produce better productions with the green screen?
Yeah, so the green screen one is funny. So that's one where we do use the iPad a little bit more, but you don't have to use the iPad. I always like the iPad for just that kind of app. That's just kind of how I was brought up now. So the one, if you're just using one at a time, we just had a school ask about this. The Do Ink green screen is the one that we like to use, and it's $1.99. And so I just told them, if, you know, they wanted to buy like one for each iPad, so they have like 90 iPads. And I thought, but you're not going to have 90 people filming at the same time. Why don't you just buy 20 and then get your, you know, and then you can get half of them for free. And you don't need more than, there's not going to be 20 green screens out there. So you only need them on a few iPads. It's not, you have to go crazy. The other one that I really like is TouchCast, which is free. And TouchCast is the one that we talked about. That's what we did in the book. And TouchCast is great too. And it's free. And it really, all you need is just the quiet space and the green screen. We have a lot of people that are just using butcher paper, quite honestly. And I lent out my green screen just the other day. But I mean, butcher paper, we have a person that worked at a school, Beaver Acres, that he painted, Ryan Hoxie, guy I work with, found some green chroma key paint and just painted this wall. So now they can go in front of it. And so there's real cheap solutions, but the butcher paper and TouchCast would be easily the cheapest, and then just something to film with, which really a lot of times I just film, I don't even use the app until after I've filmed all the action just with my camera, you know, which is always the best app on an iPad or a phone, is the camera app. I just film it all, and then I just bring it into, and I edit it up in Do Ink usually is what I use, but TouchCast is the same way. So it's really interesting. You don't even have to open the app until you're done shooting all your video. It's really simple, And we've done things from like first grade persuasive commercials with green screen where they've talked about like Chuck E. Cheese, and then they pick out the logos and we flash Chuck E. Cheese logos behind them. It's cool. I mean, it just works for everything. I think we did one for back to school night too, and they just kill because parents think they're so awesome, but it's just so easy. That's the thing. It's just trying it. So it's a fun thing. I love the green screen.
Well, I want to commend you again. Back to the mythology one. I know they use the green screen to transport them to, like, I saw the Pantheon, and then, you know, like just different parts where they were there, and then they even went into costume, and it was just really, really exciting to see elementary students just get so into it. So thank you again so much for sharing these wonderful examples and sharing your story, and especially to the kids and the teachers who were involved, because I know, like you said, you know, that's one thing about the book. You only show one you know, small snippet of a much bigger collaboration. I think your school does such a great job, you know, district-wide, K through 12, they're all working together to get students to do something really great. So thank you again.
Hey, thanks. And Shelly, can I give a shout out? I forgot, I mentioned all these people. Dawn Gildner is the other person that does the film festival with me. So I want to give a shout out to Dawn Gildner. We are both the co-people that do the film festival. But yeah, I think that we really encourage people to go out there and just try it on a site basis and then see if it can spread, kind of like it did in our district. And we encourage people. We will always help whoever wants to, like, if you just want some tips on starting some things out, just let us know. We're always happy to, like, I think film's a great thing. We always forget the A in the STEAM, so don't forget the A. That should be our motto.
And if they want to ask any questions, they can tweet you at John Samuelson. And also they can find you on your website, where you do have several podcasts. So can you let us know your website address and also the different podcasts they can tune into?
Yeah, so I've been very slackerish on my podcast lately, but I mean, iPad Sammy was my former alter ego, and I think I'm going to let that one fade this year. But right now, you could go to iPadSammy.com, and that's my personal website where I have some things. But really, Techlandia is my podcast. We're thinking about changing that name. But we have Grouchy Old Teachers just came out last night, and then we have a STEAM podcast that's coming out. So it's called you'll like our STEAM one. So it's me and Brian Briggs, and we call it the STEAM Team. But yes, you can reach out to us at any time, and we're willing to. I mean, I'm always willing to share stuff. I'm kind of like an Austin Kleon fan. You just create stuff, and some of it goes, and some of it resonates, and some of it doesn't. But at least you're creating, right?
Exactly. And it's wonderful when that creativity really flows into supporting students and being creative and innovative too. And I think your district and you are a wonderful example of that. So thank you so much again for joining.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. You know, I appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.